My name is Marc Happel, and I am the Director of Costumes at New York City Ballet. As the Director of Costumes at New York City Ballet, basically my job is to oversee the New York City Ballet costume shop as well as the wardrobe department. New York City Ballet is very lucky to have its own costume shop, and I believe is one of the only ballet companies in the United States that does. I think part of this is historical in that Barbara Korinska became Balanchine's right-hand person as far as costumes go, and she then took her costume shop and brought it to New York City Ballet, and it became the New York City Ballet costume shop. Ballet costumes, I think, speak to an audience in a variety of ways. I mean, the simplest is the costumes that we use in what we call our Black and White Week, which are basically white leotards and black tights. And they're costumes that are used in a way that does not detract from the movement at all. It becomes pure movement, almost like an abstract painting in a way. It becomes shapes, arms, legs moving throughout this choreography, and they're simple. They're white or they're black. Then I think there's costumes on the other end of the spectrum that can be quite ornate and can speak to an audience in that the minute that curtain goes up or the minute that dancer walks on stage, they tell the audience who that character is. And then the third kind of costume is a costume that can be just beautiful, doesn't detract from the choreography, but adds to the full ballet picture on stage. I think ballet costumes since Barbara Korinska's day with New York City Ballet have changed in that they've become more fashion conscious and I think also street conscious. They've become more, I think our younger choreographers are striving to have their ballets have a more modern look to them or a more edgy look to them. Beyond that, I think that also at times they haven't changed. We will do a new ballet like Simple Symphony that had very much a classic Barbara Korinska look to it. Over the last few years, we have started working with a lot of fashion designers. Our fall gala has basically become the fall fashion gala. And these designers have brought another level to costumes at New York City Ballet. There's a conversation between the choreographer and the fashion designer. And the choreographer definitely either has, a notion of what they want the costumes to look like. Do they want them to be just purely abstract? Do they want them to tell a story? Do they want them to just be decorative? And that's a conversation that they have usually before the fashion designer comes to me, because at that point they've done sketches which the choreographer has approved, and I'm then paired with the fashion designer to take those sketches and realize them as a three-dimensional costume. My role in collaborating with fashion designers is basically to help them enter this world that they're not familiar with at all. And basically I'm there to first off help them realize that the first row of our audience is 50 to 60 feet away and everyone else is farther. So it's kind of to just gently guide them into realizing that many times they need to be more graphic, or they need to take the small details and find a way to maybe bump them up 50%, or look at colors in a different way. Often our ballets get on stage and the kind of lighting that we use can be very harsh, or can be a kind of lighting that changes color drastically. And I have to get them to realize that their soft color palette will totally wash out on stage. And then just to help them look at fabrics in a different way, look at fabrics that will move in a different way, help them realize that as opposed to a model who's walking down a runway, they're basically clothing an athlete who is out on stage doing movement that most of us would not even dream of doing, much less doing it in a dress designed by a fashion designer. Most of the time when we're doing this fall fashion gala, they're also getting ready for their fall fashion show. So we have to kind of work around that. And in some cases where you have designers that are in other countries or across the Atlantic, I rarely see them. And it can be done by Skype or by email or sending pictures. Two instances, both sides of that. One, Iris van Herpen. I worked with her from Amsterdam. She was great. She sent these incredible little drawings, and we created these costumes for her that are completely covered with shards of plastic that we quickly learned we had to create a computer program to come up with the thousands of pattern shapes. So we had to cut these little shards of plastic in. She wasn't here at all, but she quickly realized that we got it. And it was a really great collaboration that worked, even though she never was here, except for the gala. On the other side of that is when we worked with Valentino. And that was, for me, a dream come true, working with one of the last great couturiers. And he was here whenever I wanted him. All I had to do was call, and he would get in his car with Giancarlo, and they would walk in the shop dressed from head to toe beautifully, and would be there to answer any question about the tiniest detail, whether it was the size or the blush on a rose that went on a costume, or whether the half-inch lace trim had to be gathered or pleated. He wanted to be there. And it was a great collaboration for me, and a very exciting time to work with someone like that.